would like to call the meeting of the Audit Committee to order. I had heard there are no public speakers. If that's true, we'll go from here. Because we don't have, Ada, I take it back. Thank you very much for attending. But because we don't have a quorum, we will table the approval of the July minutes until the next meeting. Monica, are there any changes to the work plan?
Thank you, Chair. This is the fourth and final audit committee for 2024. We are moving the IT presentation to the full board before year end. The proposed 2025 work plan is included in the committee materials for informational purposes, and any proposed changes will be presented at the January meeting. So we're just moving the IT.
Thank you, Monica. At this point, Kostas help me. Makrakis. I'll get it right the second time. From Deloitte is here to present the results of their review of the MTA consolidated financial statements for the second quarter of 2024. Thank you, Kostas.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kostas Makrakis. I am the Deloitte MTA Lead Client Service Managing Director. Together with me on my right is the Audit Senior Manager, Komal Chola. My first remarks today are for the review of the MTA's interim consolidated financial statements as of and for the 6-month period ended June 30, 2024. As a brief status, we completed the review of the financial statements and provided our comments to management, which were addressed. We are currently in the process of completing the remaining review procedures to issue a review report. We expect to do so in the coming weeks. A review of interim financial information consists primarily of analytical procedures and making inquiries for those responsible for financial and accounting matters. A review is substantially less in scope than an audit. The objective of an audit is to express an opinion on the financial information. Accordingly, we do not express an opinion on the financial information after a review. Based on the review procedure performed at this time, we are not aware of any material modifications that should be made to the interim consolidated financial statements in order for them to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principle in the U.S. And that concludes my remarks for the quarterly financial statements.
Are there any questions?
Monica takes over and we're all smooth sailing.
Sorry. I'll repeat because I didn't put the mic on. We will recommend the second quarter 2024 MTA consolidated financial statements to the full board for approval on Wednesday. Now, for the appointment of the external auditors. This is the second year of this external audit contract between the MTA and Deloitte, awarded in October 2022. As part of the reappointment process, the committee requires the auditor to present the committee the results of the most recent inspection of the firm that was conducted by the PCAOB, or the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. I'm glad they put an acronym. I wouldn't know what that is at all. We have a copy of the 2023 report that was issued May 2024, and Kostas will briefly explain the contents.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. So the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, created by the U.S. Congress and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, to oversee the audit of U.S.-listed public companies. The term public referred to companies that their stock is traded on the stock exchange and not within the context of government public services companies. All PCAOB rules and standards must be approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Deloitte is registered with the PCAOB and perform audits of companies that their stock is registered with the SEC every year. Therefore, the PCAOB is required to inspect the audit working papers prepared by Deloitte. in support of selected audits. The PCOB reviews the work papers to determine whether Deloitte has followed the appropriate auditing standards. The PCOB rules, as well as internal Deloitte policies and procedures. The PCOB published in May of 2024 our 2023 inspection report, which covered inspection of 56 issuers. Findings included in our 2023 inspection report were identified in 12 of the inspected issuers. The 12 compares to 9, 7, 2, and 6 issuer audits included in the 2022 through 2019 inspection reports, respectively. Out of the 27 comments in our report, 2023 report, 17 were related to sufficiency of audit procedures and 10 not related to sufficiency of audit procedures. Out of all these comments, more were related on internal controls, which is not applicable to MTA because we're not performing an integrated audit under PCOB standard, where we require to express an opinion on the operating effectiveness of controls over financial reporting. A couple of others were related on audit report and critical audit matters, which again are not relevant to MTA since the identification and inclusion of critical audit matters are for PCOB audit opinions. Another one was on Form AP, which is a form that PCOB requires to provide certain information on the engagement team. The following findings could be relevant to an MTA audit. One was related on inventory risk assessment, 2 on insurance liabilities that could be applicable for a FEMTAC, 3 on revenue recognition, insufficient testing of residual balances and testing of information prepared by the entity, and 1 on audit committee communication of misstatements, which I think this is again not applicable on MTA because we have a quite two-way channel of communication and formal communication between the audit committee and us. As you can see on the diagram on page 4 of the document I shared, over the past 5 years, our cumulative PCOB inspection results demonstrate we are the sustained leader in audit quality. These industry-leading inspection results give us the confidence to execute high quality and consistent audit services. On a personal note, I was subject to a PCOB inspection 2 times in my career so far, with no comments. The latest one was in 2020, and that concludes my remarks on the PCOB inspection.
Because we don't have a quorum, we will recommend to the board on Wednesday the reappointment of Deloitte as MTA's independent auditor.
Yeah. Just one, I think I have to go through the peer review as well. So
Okay.
Maybe if I can go through that as well.
Sure. Sorry, you jumped the gun.
Deloitte professionals are expected to act with integrity in accordance with high ethical standards, and Deloitte participates in the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants peer review program, which requires independent evaluation every 3 years of those portions of a firm's accounting and auditing practice that are not subject to PCOB, permanent inspection, so a firm can meet their state licensing, federal regulatory, and AACPA membership requirements. MTA is an audit engagement that can be selected as part of this peer review process. In 2023, Grant Thornton completed the most recent triennial peer review of Deloitte's system of quality review for our accounting and auditing practice, applicable to engagements not subject to PCOB, permanent inspection, and issued a report with a peer review rating of pass. That's the highest you can get. And copies of the reports are provided on Appendix E of Audit Service Plan on page 21. And in addition to PCOB and peer review system, a partner managing director is required to go through a Deloitte internal inspection at least every 4 years. A Deloitte internal inspection team can select one audit engagement to assess whether the audit was performed in compliance. The ratings are compliant, improvement needed, and non-compliant. The latest internal inspection I went through was in June 2024. I'm very pleased to say that I received the highest rating and is compliant. Separately, in relation with Audit Committee chapter compliance, we met separately with David Jones, the Audit Committee Chair, on October 23rd, and the former MTA Audit Committee Chair, Jamie Barbas, on July 19th, related to the 2024 financial statements audits. And the last part for these remarks is independence. In addition to the attest services that my team performs for the MTA, Deloitte also provides the MTA with energy consulting services. This consists of fuel supply management support, electricity supply management support, and clean fuel, electric vehicles, and new technology support. The contract for these services covers the period from March 2022 to May 2025. This work went through several layers of review at Deloitte and was deemed to be permissible, non-independence impairing, work under AICPA and Governmental Accountability Office rule sets. Also, the MTA Accounting Department has a subscription service with a Deloitte Accounting Research Tool covering the period from August 2022 to August 2025 for $1,800, and the subscription allows the MTA Accounting Department access to technical accounting literature. This service is also allowable under both AICPA and Government Accountability Office independence rule set.
Okay.
Yes.
Since I jumped the gun on Costas, again, because we don't have a quorum, we will recommend to the board on Wednesday the reappointment of Deloitte as MTA's independent auditor. Continuing with Deloitte, Costas will tell us about their audit approach to the 2024 year-end audits of MTA financial statements and that of its agencies. Costas will also discuss any new or proposed changes in accounting principles, regulations, or financial reporting practices and its impact to the financial statements. Back to you, Costas.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So, dear Audit Committee members, we're extremely proud of our long-standing relationship with Metropolitan Transportation Authority as the leading public transportation authority in the U.S. and the high-talent team of Deloitte professionals dedicated to serving your organizations. Professionals with a deep knowledge of your business, how your team operates, and your organizational culture. We're pleased to present an overview of our plan to serve the authority. Our audit plan reflects our commitment to providing you with high-quality audit that strives to reduce the burden on your people, increase effectiveness in the audit, and provide valuable insights. Our audit service is delivered with integrity, objectivity, and independence. Our audit addresses financial statement and internal control risk through targeted procedures that are responsive to the nature of the risk, including changes in the authority, the business, and the regulatory environment. This year, we enhance our engagement team by including additional insurance industry experienced professionals to serve MTA's insurance captive. For second consecutive year, we will use our cutting-edge technology audit platform, Omnia, to transform your audit experience. Significant risk and area of focus. By default, in all audits, there are two presumed significant risks due to fraud to all audits, not only to MTA. The first is management override of controls, and the second is revenue recognition. We reputed the risk of revenue recognition, and we only have management override of controls. I repeat again, it's not applicable to MTA. We're required to have this for all audits. Other audits, and the reason for this is because management at all times they have the ability to override the internal controls. Other areas of audit focus are investments, capital assets, including construction work in progress, debt, including debt compliance, debt covenant compliance, pension and other post-employment benefits, and liability from injuries to persons. Also, from an income statement perspective, revenues, operating and non-operating, operating expenses, and going concern. The going concern principle is an accounting principle that assumes that the authority will continue to operate and meet its financial obligation for the foreseeable future, that is 12 months from December 31st, 2024. On page 2 of the document I shared, it's the Deloitte Leadership Engagement Team. It's Kevin Richards is an advisory partner. The Audit Engagement Team selected to serve the authority represent a balance of local and national resources and industry experts. Overall, we strive to bring familiar faces, emphasizing the importance of continuity to enhance delivery of insights gained from the audit and the overall efficiency of our services. On the top right is our quality control reviewers. Tracy, who is responsible for the quality of the financial statements, is the Deloitte National Industry Professional Practice Director for Government Public Services sector. Elaine is responsible for quality review of the employee benefit plans. Sarah is a managing director for quality on single audit, and this year included Dan for the insurance. He's responsible for all insurance captives that Deloitte audits in the US. From an audit team and senior manager perspective, Patricia is a recurring, and she will be responsible for MTA and MTA headquarters and TBTA. Anuj Sharma, who is going to do a recurring again, New York Transit Authority, Shirtoa, and this year I thought it was better to assign him bus. Mike Tartaglia also recurring. He was on Metro North last year, and this year he will do also Long Island, having one person to do the rail. And Victoria and Ethan will help us with the insurance. For the 2024 audits, we will use the following specialist resource. Information technology specialist led by Lauren to assist in testing relevant IT systems. Actuarial specialist from Deloitte Consulting to assist in testing actuarial valuations of pension obligations, other post-employment benefits, and of the estimated liability arising from injuries to persons. Data analytics specialist to assist in performing procedures about journal entry, cycle-based testing, and data analytics, and also valuation specialists related to GASB 87 leases and GASB 96 subscription-based IT arrangements testing. From the statistics and the graphs on page 3, you can see that diversity, equity, and inclusion are important to us. Our Deloitte US workforce data, 47% overall US percentage of racial and or ethnic diversity, 31% of U.S. partners, principal, and managing directors are racially and or ethnically diverse, 45% U.S. female representation, and 30% U.S. female partner, principal, and managing director representation. With regards to MTA Audit Engagement Team, we are committed to ensuring that the Authority Audit Engagement Team is composed of a diverse and professional team with the right mix of industry and other specialists. From the graph on page 3, gender mix of Deloitte professionals working in the current year audit for the authority, 52 male and 48 female. And Deloitte will utilize minority-owned, women-owned, and service-disabled, veteran-owned firm as subcontractors for the 2024 audits of the MTA, representing 36% of our total time. On page 7, it's outlined our responsibility. We have been engaged to perform audits of the consolidated financial statements of the authority and its components as of and for the year ending December 31st, 2024, in accordance with the auditing standards generally accepted in the U.S., the generally accepted government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the U.S. and the Audit Agency of the U.S. Congress Government Accountability Office, and the audit requirements of U.S. Code of Federal Regulation audit requirements for federal awards where applicable. We will plan and perform our audits to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether caused by error or fraud. Materiality is the amount we use as a basis for planning the scope of our audit of the authority's financial statements, and it's the amount of misstatement we judge to be material to the financial statements on which we are reporting. We do not plan to adopt a control reliance strategy in the performance of our audits. We do not plan to rely on the work of internal audit in a direct capacity. We obviously work closely with the internal audit function, but we will not decrease our testing sample size by relying on audit work performed by the authority's internal audit department. On page 8, we have provided a view into how our audit is focused. It's a risk-based approach, and we have management override, construction in progress, pension, cash investments, and in an appendix we outline the detailed procedures we will perform. It's Appendix A, actually, that for each significant risk we outline both for the financial statements and for the single audit. I will not go into detail. It's there. If you want to have a follow-up on any of these procedures, please let me know. I do want to go into the audit timeline because in September, October, November, and December, it's a time where we establish the audit scope, plan, and terms of the engagement. We perform interim audit procedures related to the financial statements, and we meet formally with the audit committee. In January, February, March, April, and May, we perform and issue the financial statements for the authority and the agencies. April, May, and June, we perform the MTA benefit plan audit procedures. In May and June, we perform single audit procedures, and we communicate with the audit committee regarding the results of the audit in May and July, and also we issue in July the management recommendation letter, and we also meet with the audit committee. And we do promise to share the management rep letter well in advance for the audit committee members to have time to review and provide constructive feedback. I think that, yes, the reports to be issued are listed on Appendix D. To be honest, that's a long list. We start in February with the TBTA operating surplus agreed upon procedures report. Then in May, the financial statements, the consolidated, the FEMTAC, Long Island, Metro North, MTA Bus, Transit, CIRTOA, and TBTA. Then in May, we issue the National Transit Database for Long Island, Metro North, Bus, Transit, and CIRTOA. And then the single audit in July, the data collection form in July, the MTA Inspector General's agreed upon procedure report in July, and we conclude our work with the issuance of Deloitte of the MTA pension plans. That is the MTA Defined Benefit Pension Plan, the Long Island Plan for Additional Pensions, the Metro North Cash Balance Plan, But I think Komal will go in detail because he will be responsible for the employee benefit plan. So, Komal, if you want just briefly to describe the employee benefit plans.
Good noon, everyone. I'm Komal Chawla. I'm here to present the scope and timings of the employee benefit plan audits, which primarily cover 6 plans: MTA defined benefit pension plan, Metro North Commuter Railroad Company cash plan, MTA deferred compensation program, Manhattan and Bronze Surface Transit Operating Authority pension plan, Long Island Railroad Company plan for additional pensions, and MTA retiree welfare benefits plan. I would just collectively call them out as plans for rest of the presentation. All these audits that we perform is primarily to obtain reasonable assurance whether they are free from material misstatements, whether caused by error or fraud. With respect to the significant risk consistent to the audit of MTA consolidated financial statements, we just have one identified presumed fraud risk and significant risk, which is management override of controls. And we perform substantive procedures to address that, as mentioned in the, in the deck that you have. Again, for EBP plans, also we do not adopt any control reliance strategy, meaning we do not test the operating effectiveness of the controls. We just perform and evaluate the design and implementation of the controls. Specifically calling out the timings of the audit, we perform our audit procedures in March, April, May, and June. We issue our audit reports around July, and we would have regular communications with the management and members of the audit committee during the course of the year, specifically around January, May, and July, which is when we conclude our issuance. That's about the benefit plans.
I think that concludes our presentation of the audit service plans.
Okay, complete? Thank you, Kostas. Any questions of our auditors? If none, now for the Audit Committee Charter. For the record, the committee has been provided with a copy of the charter so it may review and assess the adequacy of the Audit Committee Charter. The committee members were asked to provide any comments or recommendations to revise the charter prior to the meeting, and no such recommendations were received. Therefore, based on the review, recognizing we don't have a quorum, the committee recommends no changes to the charter at this time. Next, we have Lamont Kears, MTA Chief Compliance Officer, who will give a brief update on the implementation status of prior audit recommendations. Lamont?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Since the last report that we provided this committee, there have been 115 new audit recommendations created, and 126 have been closed. There are also an additional 83 remediation plans that have been implemented and are awaiting concurrence on their closure, which would bring it to over 200 remediation plans in total that are either closed or pending closure. As of the date today, there are 23 high-priority remediation plans that are currently past due. Of those 23, 5 have been given revised implementation dates, and we are continuing to monitor all remediation plans across the MTA. I will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions of them? Hearing none. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, sorry. Next, I'll need this help all the time. It's a new technology. Okay. Next, I have a 4-page draft report that covers the activities of the Audit Committee during the 12 months ended July 31, 2024. A draft of this report was distributed for your review and comments last week. Any questions or suggestions? If not, we will submit our report to the board. With limits, and thank you, Heda, I guess you can vote on this one. We need a motion for the Audit Committee to adjourn.
I hereby make that motion.
Thank you, Heda, and a vote. Audit Committee adjourned. Thank you all. Thanks, Heda.